We are live. We are sitting here at the world famous Buddy Brew Coffee. I'm with my good friend Tom Gaitens, who is the, what are you, the president, CEO of FreedomWorks?
No, I'm state coordinator. He's the state coordinator.
He's the state coordinator of FreedomWorks. And Tom has been very involved with the Heritage Foundation and very involved with a number of very important issues that deal with our Constitution, which I want to make sure everyone recognizes. I never leave without my handy-dandy Constitution with me. Our Constitution, talking about the Constitution, limited government, and really how we as Americans can, you know, continue to live in a prosperous nation with all the challenges that we face and all the spending. I know you're very concerned about federal spending and federal debt.
Mark, ironically, it's very simple. That's what we have to stay within those parameters. But locally, it's vitally important that we be responsible with our local people, our state funds, because that's 55% of the tax base.
Well, let's talk about that, because I ran for Congress back in the 90s.
Where we met?
So and I was very concerned about and talked about, you know, the issue of federal taxation.
Yep.
And the drain on the taxpayer at the federal level. What I've always believed in is that there are certain services that must be provided. The question is, are the services provided at the federal level, the state level, or the local level? Where do we have the most control? As citizens, you know, I was at a meeting last night, a public hearing last night, talking about the I-4 corridor and growth along the I-4 corridor. I was there until 10:30, listening to citizens. Now, at the end of the day, we were not able to do what I thought was very important, which was talk about how we're going to try to grow our economy along the very important corridor of creating jobs. But the citizens could come in, and they did, and point us out, and get mad and angry and say, we disagree with you, because they know who we are.
Well, there's a blessing and a curse to this, Mark. The blessing is that the more local control we have on the tax dollars, the better control we have. Right. However, think of what we've done in this state. We've created a taxing body, a pseudo-governmental body called SwiftFund, which just last week, as you know, I'm a grassroots organizer. I was a community organizer in the vein of President Obama. And that's what I do. That's what I like to do. I like to bring people actively back into the process. Absolutely. Hey, I salute the process, because that's how we have to do this. But SwiftFund is every member of SwiftFund is appointed. They're not elected, yet they have a power of taxation. That is a fundamental flaw with our system. As a conservative, I looked at the back of Mark's Constitution, because it's important to find out where
Tell me it wasn't printed in China.
No, I'm less concerned about that, but it was CATO. It's a CATO, which is a libertarian organization, and I would hope that they didn't print it in China, because that would be very un-American. But the catch here, Mark, is we have to worry about every tax law, because as we've talked, one of the people we talk about constantly is Paul Ryan, Congressman Paul Ryan, and his roadmap.
We both respect him.
Absolutely. But fundamentally, it really boils down to everything we do has to have the vital purpose of, is it necessary and is it urgent?
Right. Well, let me ask you. On the Wall Street Journal, we're talking about a lot of things. For those of you who want to engage, you can Twitter MarkSharpeFL and ask your questions. You can go on live. Some of you are already online watching this from your online at my website, MarkSharpeFL.com. You can come to Buddy Brew, where we have the finest coffee brewed daily by the Wards. They're wonderful. They're coffee connoisseurs, and they also love the conversation and talk. Come in here, share coffee, talk politics. But the Wall Street Journal had a cover story, and the cover story talked about how China was overtaking the United States in energy consumption. Yep. Now that's important, because China is going to is overtaking us in manufacturing. Absolutely. And you know, in the 50s and 60s, when America was finding itself falling behind the Russians when it came to the space race, we dedicated ourselves to making sure that we stayed technologically ahead of our of our opponents, because we knew that America, which was the shining beacon of freedom, had to maintain our economic leadership. Now we find that our economic leadership is being challenged by the Chinese and by other countries, and I find us not thinking about moving further ahead. We're drawing back.
Well, Mark, you're right, and the reason we've been falling back is fundamentally we've lost course. We have taken, think of the word big oil. You can't say oil without saying big before it, and it's become an ugly word. This whole BP situation just exasperated it. But the reality is, this country has been the fundamental source of the Chinese developmental energy. Everyone wants to preserve our planet, protect our woodlands and our swamplands, protect our coasts, protect our waters, protect our neighborhoods, protect our water supplies. Everyone does. No one does not. But what we have to understand is what we fail to do, and we've talked about this since we created the Department of Energy back in the Carter administration, is a fundamental energy policy. We can't have a fundamental energy policy without nuclear power. And the reality is, wind turbines, I trade feed commodities for a living. I trade the byproducts of ethanol. I know how absolutely inefficient it is to utilize ethanol as an energy source in America. This is insane, but it's green driven. We're missing the forest through the trees. We have to understand that the best way, and you study international studies, think about this for a second. ROI, return on investment, on everything we do. Energy is a return on investment. Nuclear energy is the most efficient and effective return on investment.
I believe in nuclear power. Listen, I want to see the state of Florida investing in nuclear power. I want to see the state of Florida investing in look, the Chinese
all the above. I mean, I'm for it all.
Natural gas. The United States leads, and we have significant amounts of natural gas. It's just a matter of being able to get access to it. Solar energy has some opportunities. There are other things like algae. You know that Bloomberg had a great story about big algae, and we are actually in Hillsborough County now working on a major project which is outside the urban service area, but it's going to create a tremendous opportunity in the realm of algae. But let's get back to America leading, because see, where we agree absolutely is that we've lost our way. I think our country has become a nation which once manufactured, made things, grew to becoming a nation which really focused on entitlements and in big entitlement spending. So, you know, what we're going to have to be talking about, and I think we have to get our focus, and at the local level we have to get our focus. We at the local level need to, basic things, trash collection, important. Making sure that when you turn on the tap, you've got fresh water. When you turn on the lights, the power works. And when you get in your car, you can get from A to B to C without waiting too long. We need to be able to move. I think that is the essential mission of government. We've allowed ourselves to get into a lot of activities which are important, but which others can do better within aging services and animal services and children's services. These are important services, but they can be provided by others. We never explored it. So what we're going to talk about, Tom, and we need to continue this conversation. I want people, this is a good man, he's a smart man, his organization is doing some great work. We're going to find a way to cut spending, reduce the debt, but not let our infrastructure weaken.
I'd like to talk about that infrastructure at some point.
And that would include energy infrastructure.
That would include energy infrastructure. I mean, there's many things we agree on, some things we don't. Fundamentally, it boils down to this: limited government. Limited government. We have to be most effective, efficient.
Well, we've dealt with this last night, Tom. Limited government, and we're getting ready to click off here. But limited government, but that we also, and I think you mean this. People have got to believe in the government. When the government starts imposing and mandating, telling people what to do, and the people don't agree, that's what led to the initial revolution. When the king said, hey, we're going to tax you, we're not going to let you have any input, and the citizens were like, hold on a second, the tax may be low, but you're not telling us what to do.
Unfortunately, we don't teach our founding principles properly in this country, and it's been purposeful. I mean, government is think about during this recession. The only entity that has not shrunk is government. It's actually increased. That is the fundamental problem.
Well, drink your coffee, buddy bro. Read your Constitution. Check on Tom's FreedomWorks. Come to MarkSharpeFL.com, and we'll see you next week.